Oh, Fattboy26. You'll have to excuse me using my cat here as my main model. I feel that his expressions of tiredness and disdain are much better at conveying my reactions to your comments rather than my own face. I'm not that much of an actor. I can make my voice sound annoyed, but you know, that's just not the same impact as seeing a cat falling asleep. I compared you to a terrorist in a purely metaphorical way, as you can see when I compared the things you say to the things that terrorists commonly say. Obviously, if you had actually threatened me, I would report you to the police, not continue in this increasingly pointless debate. You make the claim that I cannot tolerate criticism. So, why is it that your comments are still on my YouTube profile page? Why am I even bothering to make a video response? If I couldn't tolerate criticism, I would be trying to hide this, rather than trying to bring more people into the debate. You, on the other hand, have shifted this conversation away from your YouTube profile. I've also noticed that the only people debating with you on your YouTube profile are those whose writing may not be as clear and concise, and whose arguments, while well-intentioned, are not as well-planned as mine. I'd say that it's you who have trouble with criticism, sir. So, are you trying to compare me to Muslims, KKK, neo-Nazi groups, the right-wing militia, and the radical left-wing? Aren't 3 out of those 5 groups ideologically opposed to each other? I can't really understand what you're trying to get at here. Or perhaps you're just trying to compare my peaceful attempt at being understanding to extremists. Yeah, you're comparing me to extremists. That's logical. Last time I checked, I've never burned a cross, shaved my head, supported a Republican or a Democrat even, or even shot a gun. Karen Armstrong? Actually, yeah, I have heard of her. She's the one that said all religions below their surface differences are the same and that they support the Golden Rule. That's her, right? You're familiar with the Golden Rule, aren't you? That you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I've even got a copy of one of her books here. Muhammad, A Biography of the Prophet. You can kind of see it right there. The publisher's weekly comment on the cover says, "Sympathetic, engrossing, a meticulous quest for the historical Muhammad." Do you know who recommended this book to me? One of my Muslim viewers here on YouTube. They told me that it was an excellent account of Muhammad's life. As for the Gallup poll data, I'll read off portions of the book for you now. Let's see, that's the book. Although I have to mention that my original intent was for you to do some supplemental research on your own in this ongoing debate. Evidently you'd rather rely on your own paranoia rather than actually reading everything. Alright, so this section I'm going to read to you is from the introduction. It is from page 11. With the random sampling method that Gallup used, results are statistically valid within a plus or minus 3-point margin of error. In totality, we surveyed a sample representing more than 90% of the world's 1.3 billion Muslims, making this the largest, most comprehensive study of contemporary Muslims ever done. And now we have direct percentages from page 47, though I might add that the whole book is full of these percentages. So here's the quote. Substantial majorities in nearly all nations surveyed, 95% in Burkina Faso, 94% in Egypt, 93% in Iran, and 90% in Indonesia, say that if drafting a constitution for a new country, they would guarantee freedom of speech, defined as allowing all citizens to express their opinion on the political, social, and economic issues of the day. Okay. You seem to be of the opinion that if you like something, you have to become it. You have accused me several times of wanting to convert to Islam. You have accused Karen Armstrong and John Esposito of wanting to convert to Islam. This leads me to believe that you like hating others, which is why you persist in being paranoid and ignorant. Truth be told, I'm not sure what a kafir is. I've never seen the term before. I should let you know, though, that the only biographies that I've read have been from non-Muslims. My favorite one is from Karen Armstrong, the one that I mentioned before. It seems to be the most balanced of the lot. I have read parts of the Hadith and Sunnah, but mostly only in relation to my readings in the Quran and the bibliographies of Muhammad. I've read a bit about the Ottoman Turks, but most of my studies into the history of Islam have been about, as I said, the life of Muhammad as well as the Crusades. During the Crusades, I might add, it was the Christians who kept attacking, who killed innocent children, and who didn't allow any other faiths into Jerusalem when the Christians held the city. The Muslims and the Jews were the only two groups who would allow people of other religions into Jerusalem. Now, you have a quote here that I'm going to read from you. Islam is starting to, with Saudi Arabian oil money, starting to supposedly take over the world again. So why aren't there bombings every week on every European and American street corner? I mean, if all good Muslims, as you say, are terrorists, then even the American and European Muslims should be perfectly willing to sacrifice themselves for Allah, right? It's rather obvious that the majority of Muslims don't want to take over the world. Otherwise, there would be even more violence than there is today. You're welcome. Okay, here's a partial answer to the question of why is democracy absent in so much of the Muslim world? This is from page 39 of Who Speaks for Islam. The answer to the question lies more in history and politics than in religion. We in the West had centuries to move from monarchies to modern democratic states, from divine right kingdoms to modern secular nation-states. And we suffered from revolutionary and civil wars in the process. In contrast, the governments in the Muslim world, created after World War II, are only decades old. Yes, look at Europe and places like France, where French university students have also rioted for weeks. France always has protests and riots. In the cases of each of those terrorist acts, the perpetrators were described as Islamist extremists, not Muslims. Do you know what the definition of the word Islamist is? Islamism, or the Arabic Islamia, is a term that denotes a set of political ideologies holding that Islam is not only a religion but also a political system. Basically, it's a political extremist who happens to be a Muslim. How is this any different from Republicans who push their religion into politics? And don't tell me that Republicans or even religious political Americans can't be violent. You can talk to the abortion center workers who were bombed and shot at if you want to say something like that. Or, to bring it closer to home for you, the Australians who used oppressive violence against the Aborigines in the middle and late 1980s. Paranoia is commonly thought of as believing that everyone is out to get you. You believe, by your own admission, that all Muslims are terrorists. A terrorist being someone who bombs innocent Westerners. You, being a Westerner, believe that all Muslims are out to get you. That is paranoia.